Ladies and gentlemen, did you know that the Mersing Islands are haunted? Now, we're not talking about supernatural ghosts here. Instead, we are referring to abandoned, lost, or otherwise discarded fishing gears, or this is commonly termed as ghost gears. Now you might be wondering, why is it actually called ghost gears? It's essentially because of its nature in the seas. It is made to be unidentifiable or unnoticeable so that fish or marine life is able to fall into the intended trap. But secondly, we all know the concept of ghosting, when people abandon us without any explanation. This is similar to when fishermen discard their fishing gears without any justification. This is why we are here today. We want to stop ghosting the ocean and start ghost busting. With that, ladies and gentlemen, panel of judges, good morning. We are from Team Bubbles, and we are privileged to be here today to sail the seas with all of you. Now let's sail to the seas of Mersing, Johor. Now Mersing, Johor, ladies and gentlemen, are one of the 7 active fishery districts in Johor. The fisheries sector contributes 6.0% to the total agricultural production of the state. However, ladies and gentlemen, this comes with a cost. UNEP has recognized fishing activities to be a serious contributor to the marine debris in the sea. Evidently, in Pulau Tioman, we can see that in 2021 alone, 4,000 kilograms of ghost gears were found in the oceans of Pulau Tioman. In 2019, volunteers found 573 ghost nets in Pulau Pemanggil. You might wonder, what is the harmful effect of ghost gears then? This is the haunting threat of ghost gears, ladies and gentlemen. Marine life gets entangled, strangled, injured, and eventually die, which clearly gives an adverse impact to the marine biodiversity in Mersing. Not only that, it also affects marine habitats. This was a survey done by Reef Check in 2021, where Mersing's average coral cover declined from 45% in 2020 to 43% in 2021. Now, besides the biological impacts, there are also other impacts in the long run. It will result in the decline in heritage and aesthetic value, and subsequently a decline in ecotourism. This is obviously adverse to Mersing, given that ecotourism is one of its economic activities. It also can lead to the decline in commercially valuable fish stocks, and to a point, it may also eventually lead to food insecurity. And this clearly impacts the livelihood of fishermen who depend on fishing as their source of income. Hence, our objective is to mitigate and eventually eradicate the issue of ghost gears in Mersing, as well as to prevent the further exacerbation of this issue in Mersing. Our proposal is as follows. It comes in 4 Fs, which is first, we wish to introduce fishing net recycling centers around Mersing. Second, we wish to educate fishermen and raise awareness on the importance of this issue. Third, we would like to introduce and improve fishing gear standards, as well as implement a fishing gear marking system in the long run. Now let's move on to our first proposal, which is to have a fishing nets recycling centers. The problem that we have identified is that fishing nets are being disposed of in the oceans. So we want to propose a solution that allows these fishermen to discard their fishing gears properly and in a way that does not destroy the marine environment. To this, we look to the policies or projects that have been done by other countries. For instance, in Taiwan, they have storage sites at fishing ports, And we propose for such a thing to be done in the islands of Mersing as well, where fishermen can store their worn out fishing gears in the ports at Mersing Islands. Secondly, in South Korea, they implemented this buyback project, whereby hard-wearing bags are given to fishermen so that they can trade marine litter for money. We think that this is a great incentive for fishermen and have them be part of the solution as well. To implement this, we believe that it can be done under the Local Government Act, which empowers authorities to do so. Now, this is an illustration on how we can have recycling centers or recycling facilities at ports, and it is to note that recycled nets can actually be multi-purpose and it can be used for multitude of things, and it can also be turned into fashion items or even products that can be sold around Mersing, given its ecotourism nature. So we think that this solution would be beneficial because it is cost effective. The average cost to restore marine coastal habitat is much more expensive than the annual average cost of recycling fishing nets. We also wish to highlight that the buyback program implemented in Korea has reduced tons of fishing gears abandoned annually, showing that this project is actually working. Now, how would we measure the success of this solution if it gets implemented? We believe that there must be at least a 60% of a recycling rate of fishing equipment among fishermen, and we will monitor this from time to time.
Well, moving on to our next solution, which is the introduction of fishing gear standards. As we all know that currently, fishing gears are often made of low-cost, durable, and non-biodegradable synthetic materials. Therefore, we would like to actually propose a solution that could somehow improve the standards of the fishing gears. This implementation could be done under Fishery Act 1985. So, the first thing that we would like to introduce under the standards for fishing gears is ropeless gears or ropes that do not shred fibers. This picture over here somehow illustrates what is actually a ropeless fishing and how does it help. This ropeless fishing is found to actually tremendously reduce the number of fish entanglement in the sea, and therefore we felt the need to introduce such solution. Moving on to our next solution, we will also consider of having a whale release ropes to reduce the risk of entanglement. How? Because these whale release ropes have high tensile strength and it can even withstand the whale's weight. Even if the whale pass through this fishing rope, they will not get entangled. And how about the smaller fishes, which will be much more easier. Next, we would like to also introduce a soak time limit for static gears, such as net and traps for each fisherman. For example, every fisherman will have an average of 12 to 18 hours of soak time limit to reduce their time spent in the ocean and also reduce the abandonment of this fishing net and gears in the ocean. Next, we would like to also introduce the usage of more easily recyclable components with minimal impurities that actually interfere with the recycling process for our fishing gears and also fishing traps. Well, how does our fishing gear standards actually bring positive impacts to our policy? First, as we all know and as I've emphasized earlier, that these fishing gear standards actually reduce the entanglement of marine lives by the gross gears. Second, we would like to also make these fishing gears more easily recyclable. And how do we actually measure the success of our fishing gear standards? We would like to analyze the species abundance in the local ocean and seas. A cut-off point of 60% of the species abundance is a measurement of success. And this evaluation would actually be a joint venture between Department of Fisheries, Department of Statistics, and also the local authorities. Next, To complement our earlier fishing gear standards, we would like to also introduce our next solution, which is the fishing gear marking system. Well, as we all realize that fishing gears often get lost, and also they are dumped by unknown owners, which is the fishermen. So what we would like to do, we would like to introduce a marking system for these fishing gears, for instance, which have been done by these two companies, which is the Remora and also the Chipolo. What Remora have done was that they introduced a technology to track these tag units woven in the fishing nets, whereas the Chipolo actually introduced a Bluetooth tag functioning as an item finder. And this implementation can be done under Fisheries Act 1985. This is an illustration of how we would like to conduct the marking system. As we could see, the RFID tag by Remora. But even so, there is also as simplest as we could go, which is like a sipping gear making by Indonesia, just a simple tag for us to tag all those fishing gears and also nets. Moving on to our next part, how does this fishing gear marking system complements our previous policy and how does it impact our policy? First, fishermen who somehow pollute the ocean through the intentional abandonment can somehow be held accountable, and this is why we introduce such marking system. Second, we would like to also reduce the rate of the fishing gears abandonment, and through this policy, we believe that this could be done. And how do we actually measure the success of such policy is through monitoring the recycling rate of fishing equipment among the fishermen, and also second, observe the percentage of ghost gears found in the ocean.
So in order to make our proposal a lot more holistic, we implement our final solution, which is the fishermen education and awareness. So on this point, we've identified the problem of the lack of familiarity on the harms of ghost gears, as well as the impact of, as well as the concept of ghost fishing among local fishermen. Well, the solution is to first educate the direct stakeholders, which are the fishermen, on the harms of ghost gears, as well as the concept of ghost fishing. Further, the devastating impacts of ghost gears, which affects the fishing prospects of fishermen. To ensure effective implementation, we propose to use mother tongue as the medium of instruction, and further to empower the local community, which are members of the Fishermen Association, as well as qualified nursing locals, to be educators and subsequently leaders of their respective communities. Further, we propose to implement informational nudges, which are graphics, to show the harms of ghost gears towards the marine life. And this solution can be implemented through two legislation which empowers the local authorities, which are the Local Government Act as well as the Fishermen Association Act. Now, this solution will cause ripples of positive impacts, and this can be proven through a study done in 10 OECD countries, which has found that education such as raising awareness among fishermen on the impacts of ghosting gears improves societal behavior towards the environment. And how do we measure the success? Well, there are 4 parts to it. First, assessing local understanding on local laws and regulation. Second, assessing local level of understandings of human impacts on resources. Analyzing annual fisheries catches, as well as observing percentage of ghost gears found in the ocean. Well, at this point, after we have proposed all our solutions, you might have one question on your mind, which is there a political will? Well, we refer to the 12 Malaysia Plan, which first intends to utilize high-tech fishing vessels and also to develop sustainable fisheries management plan. So to that question, our answer is yes. And the next question will be, will local nursing fishermen be even interested in this issue? Well, of course, based on the extraction that we looked at through the local newspapers, there are testimonies of fishermen talking about how ghost fishing and marine pollution has led to the reduction of their fish catches.
So on the timeline of implementation, it will be divided into two parts. First is on short term and second is long term. So the short term would be within 1 year and the long term would be 5 to 10 years. So short term wise, we intend to implement fishing nets and fishing net recycling centers, as well as fishermen education and awareness. As for long term, we slowly segue into fishing gear standards and fishing gears marking system. So in conclusion, we say stop ghosting the ocean and start ghost busting. Through our four foundational apps, we intend to implement these 4 points that we're proposed in our solutions. And this is because of the devastating impacts of ghost gears towards marine life as well as the livelihood of fishermen. In ensuring efficacy and efficiency, we believe in the importance of proper governance as well as collaboration. So the seas have risen, ladies and gentlemen, and have called for our help. So we say stop ghosting the ocean and start answering their calls. We can tackle ghost gears litter by litter. Thank you.